The morning of April 7th, 2026, started like any other Masters week. Azalea blooms lined Magnolia Lane. Patrons filed through the gates of Augusta National. The smell of pimento sandwiches and freshly cut Georgia grass drifted through the humid spring air. But beneath the tranquility, something was happening that nobody in the mainstream press had fully caught yet. Somewhere in the back channels of the global sports betting industry, in the hushed rooms of London bookmakers, and the glowing screens of Vegas odds terminals, numbers were moving. Quietly at first, then faster. The odds on one specific golfer winning the 2026 Masters tournament shifted by a margin that analysts hadn't seen in 3 years. Not because of a hot streak, not because of a new swing coach or a dramatic qualifying round. The odds moved because of a sentence. A single, carefully chosen sentence that this man had spoken in an interview that most people had scrolled past. 11 words. That's all it took. And if you're watching this right now, you already know exactly who we're talking about. The man who has collapsed on the floor of a hospital room, who has driven a car into a tree at 85 miles per hour, who has had his leg reconstructed bolt by bolt. The man who, against every prognosis, every medical opinion, and every betting model, keeps coming back. This is the story of what Tiger Woods just said, and why the entire golf world is suddenly terrified that he means it. If stories like this stir something in you, the kind that are about so much more than sport, you might want to stay close to this channel. What we're about to unpack goes deeper than a golf tournament. To understand why 11 words from Tiger Woods can rattle an industry, you have to go back to February 23, 2021. It was a Tuesday morning in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. Tiger was driving alone on a winding stretch of Hawthorne Boulevard when his SUV crossed a median, rolled several times, and came to rest in the brush of a hillside. The impact was catastrophic. Emergency responders found him conscious but badly injured. What the public didn't know yet, what the doctors knew the moment they got him into surgery, was just how close it was. Comminuted open fractures of the tibia and fibula bones of the right leg. Multiple surgeries. A metal rod inserted into his tibia. Pins and screws holding what remained of his ankle together. The lead orthopedic surgeon later said, quietly and without drama, that amputation had been on the table. Let that land for a moment. Amputation. For a man whose entire identity, whose very being, had been constructed around athletic perfection, physical dominance, the controlled violence of a full-speed golf swing. That version of Tiger Woods, the one that walked with a predatory swagger down the 18th fairway at Augusta, was supposed to be gone. Think about where you were when you heard about the crash. Think about what you felt. Because however you felt about Tiger Woods, as a fan, as a skeptic, something shifted in you that day too, didn't it? What followed the crash was a silence. Tiger went quiet in the way that only someone in serious physical and psychological pain goes quiet. Not the manufactured silence of public relations, but the deep, heavy silence of a man recalibrating everything he had ever believed about himself. Then, 14 months after the accident, he walked down Magnolia Lane again. April 2022. He wasn't supposed to be there. His medical team had reportedly cautioned him. His body hadn't been tested at that level. But Tiger showed up at Augusta National, limping subtly but moving forward, and over the course of 4 days, he played 72 holes at the Masters tournament. He didn't win. He finished 47th. But that number is irrelevant. What mattered was that he walked those hills. He stood over those putts. He drove that ball down those fairways with a rebuilt leg strapped in pain management equipment. The gallery, those legendary Augusta crowds who have watched 60 years of Masters history, gave him standing ovations just for completing holes. Professional golfers who had idolized him as children watched him from adjacent fairways with something approaching reverence. He came back in 2023. He came back in 2024. Each time, a little better. Each time, a little quieter about what comes next. And then came 2026. And the interview. And those 11 words. The interview wasn't a major press conference. It wasn't a sit-down with a primetime sports anchor. It was a brief exchange, the kind that happens in the margins of pro-am events, caught on a handheld camera by a reporter who almost didn't get the access. The question was simple. Tiger, will we see you compete at Augusta this year? He smiled. That smile, the one that doesn't quite reach the eyes, the one that contains more information than any press release ever could. And then he said it. I feel like my best golf is still ahead of me. 11 words. That's it. Now, in isolation, this sounds like the kind of thing athletes say all the time. A rote line. A deflection dressed as motivation. But context is everything. Because Tiger Woods is not most athletes. Tiger Woods chooses his words with the precision of a surgeon. He has spent his entire adult life managing information, controlling narrative, saying exactly and only what he intends to say. He does not give away victories in advance. He does not hype himself carelessly. When Tiger Woods tells you his best golf is still ahead of him, at 50 years old, with a reconstructed leg, after everything, he is not speaking casually. He is making a declaration. And the betting markets heard it as exactly that. Within 48 hours of that interview circulating online, the movement in golf betting markets was measurable and unmistakable. Tiger's odds to win the 2026 Masters moved from 80 to 1 to 28 to 1 at some books. That is not a casual adjustment. That kind of shift represents real money moving with real conviction behind it. Let's be clear about what 28 to 1 means in this context. This is a tournament featuring Scottie Scheffler, who at the time was the world's #1 ranked golfer and had already proven himself to be the most consistent ball striker of his generation. This is a field that includes Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, athletes in the prime of their careers, with fully functioning bodies, grinding year-round on the PGA Tour. And yet the markets are pricing Tiger Woods, a 50-year-old man with reconstructed bones in his right leg, at 28 to 1. That's not charity. That's not nostalgia. Bookmakers are not in the business of sentimentality. When they move numbers, they move them because the data tells them something. And the data, the physical metrics, the swing analytics, the reports coming out of his private practice sessions, apparently told them enough. Sources close to Tiger's training regiment, careful sources, the kind who speak in measured tones and never go on record by name, described what they had seen in the months leading up to 2026 in terms that ranged from remarkable to genuinely hard to believe. The swing speed numbers that had leaked from monitoring sessions showed a man not just recovering, but refining. His driver distance, which had dipped noticeably in 2022 and 2023, had reportedly climbed back toward the 290 to 295-yard range. His short game, always his sanctuary, the department of his game that bends to pure mental will more than physical power, was said to be at a level comparable to his peak years. When you combine those numbers with the fact that Augusta National is arguably the course on the planet that most rewards precision over power, course management over raw athleticism, and experience over youth, a pattern begins to emerge. Augusta is Tiger's cathedral. He has won there 5 times. He knows every slope, every wind current, every psychological trap built into those 18 holes. For 20-plus years, that number has existed in the shadow of another number, 18, the record set by Jack Nicklaus for career major titles, which Tiger spent the defining years of his career chasing. And then his body broke, and the chase seemed to end. But then 2019 happened. A Sunday afternoon at Augusta National where Tiger Woods, 43 years old, having undergone multiple back surgeries, playing with pain levels most of us will never experience, made birdies on the back 9 that stunned the world and walked up the 18th fairway to his 5th green jacket. 15. 1 away from tying Jack, 2 away from surpassing him. Standing between Tiger and that record is not just physical recovery, it is legacy. It is the gravitational pull of history. It is the kind of thing that can, in the most literal neurological sense, dull pain, override fatigue, and push a human body beyond what the body thinks it can do. Does that sound dramatic? Ask any sports psychologist. Ask any elite performance coach. The will to complete something historically significant is not metaphorical. It is biochemical. It is real. And Tiger knows it's there. Which is why those 11 words weren't spoken lightly. If this moment, a man standing at the edge of the greatest record in his sport, with a rebuilt leg and everything to prove, if that doesn't move something in you, I don't know what will. This is what sport is for. If you feel it, let this video know. There's a number that sits at the center of all of this. And if you follow golf at all, you already feel it. 15. That is the number of major championships Tiger Woods has won. For 20-plus years, that number has existed in the shadow of another number, 18, the record set by Jack Nicklaus for career major titles, which Tiger spent the defining years of his career chasing. And then his body broke, and the chase seemed to end. But then 2019 happened. A Sunday afternoon at Augusta National where Tiger Woods, 43 years old, having undergone multiple back surgeries, playing with pain levels most of us will never experience, made birdies on the back nine that stunned the world and walked up the 18th fairway to his 5th green jacket. 15. 1 away from tying Jack, 2 away from surpassing him. Standing between Tiger and that record is not just physical recovery, it is legacy. It is the gravitational pull of history. It is the kind of thing that can, in the most literal neurological sense, dull pain, override fatigue, and push a human body beyond what the body thinks it can do. Does that sound dramatic? Ask any sports psychologist. Ask any elite performance coach. The will to complete something historically significant is not metaphorical. It is biochemical. It is real. And Tiger knows it's there. Which is why those 11 words weren't spoken lightly. If this moment, a man standing at the edge of the greatest record in his sport, with a rebuilt leg and everything to prove, if that doesn't move something in you, I don't know what will. This is what sport is for. If you feel it, let this video know. Here is where honesty demands we slow down. Because the counterargument is not small. The counterargument is made of physics and medicine and the unforgiving arithmetic of athletic aging. Tiger's right leg is held together with hardware that no amount of physical therapy can replace with cartilage and tendon. Every golf swing, even a careful, managed one, generates enormous torque through the lower body. What looks effortless on a Tuesday practice round can leave a compromised leg screaming by Thursday of a tournament week. In his return appearances at Augusta, Tiger has reportedly played through pain levels that would sideline most people. There are rounds where, if you watch the broadcast footage carefully, you can see him favoring that right side in ways that are subtle but unmistakable to anyone who knows what to look for. Beyond the physical reality, there's the field. The 2026 Masters is not going to be played against inferior competition. Scheffler is a machine. Morikawa's iron play is generationally precise. Younger players who grew up watching Tiger on television have now spent years studying and internalizing everything he perfected, and they're doing it with bodies that haven't been through what his has. So the honest version of this story is not simply Tiger is coming back and will win. The honest version is messier and more human than that. It's a 50-year-old man with a damaged body and an undamaged while walking into one of the most competitive fields in golf, at the one course where his ghosts live, gambling on the possibility that one can still outrun age. People who have spent time around Tiger, really spent time around him, not the press conference version, but the human version, speak about his relationship with Augusta National in terms that go beyond competitive obsession. He has described the course in interviews with a tenderness that is almost startling coming from a man who spent most of his career presenting as utterly cold and calculating. His father, Earl Woods, who passed away in 2006, attended multiple Masters tournaments and watched his son win there. The memory of those moments, of Earl in the stands at Augusta, of the hug on the 18th green, is woven into Tiger's relationship with the place in ways that don't get measured in betting odds. His own children, Sam and Charlie, have grown up watching their father play there. When Tiger won in 2019, the image of him embracing his kids on the final green went around the world not because it was spectacular athletics, but because it was human. It was a father showing his children that broken things can be put back together, that the story isn't over until you decide it is. Which makes 2026 not just a sporting event. It's a chapter in something longer. Something that started decades ago with a father and a son on a driving range in California and has not yet found its final page. The betting odds shifting is only the most visible symptom of what Tiger's hint has done to the golf world. Conversations that were happening quietly in locker rooms and broadcast booths. Conversations about whether Tiger was done, whether his competitive window had permanently closed, have cracked open again. Television executives are already factoring Tiger's potential presence into their projections for viewership. Sponsorship conversations are moving. The Masters itself, already the most watched annual golf event on the planet, will see its ratings expectations recalibrated entirely if Tiger tees it up in competitive form. There is no other athlete in any sport who does this. LeBron James is magnificent, but the NBA doesn't restructure itself around his decisions. Roger Federer was transcendent, but tennis continued without seismic disruption when he stepped back. Tiger Woods occupies a category of cultural weight in golf that is simply unprecedented. When he hints at competing, the sport realigns. It's not hype. It's just the reality of who he is and what he represents to a game that, for 3 decades, has known its best possible version only happens when he's in the field. There is a moment in the life of every great competitor, and you don't have to be a sports fan to recognize this, where they stand at the threshold of something impossible and have to make a private decision before the public one. Michael Jordan standing in the locker room before Game 6. Muhammad Ali staring at the ceiling of his training camp the night before a fight he had no business winning. These moments don't get filmed. They don't get narrated. They happen in the quiet space between what a person has been and what they're choosing to become. Tiger Woods is in that space right now. Somewhere between those 11 words and the first tee of Augusta National on Masters Thursday morning, a decision is being made. A decision made not with press releases or odds movements or television contracts, but with pain tolerance and morning practice sessions and conversations with his own reflection in the mirror of a locker room. He is 50 years old. He has won 15 majors. His right leg has been rebuilt. His career, by any rational measure, has already exceeded every possible expectation. And yet, my best golf is still ahead of me. 11 words that contain a universe that suggest the chapter the whole world has been afraid to hope for might still be unwritten. Here's what we know. We know that Tiger Woods has defied every reasonable prediction that has ever been made about him. Not once, not twice, but so consistently that at this point, skepticism about his capacity for the impossible has become its own kind of irrationality. We know that Augusta National is the one place on earth where the variables align most favorably for what remains of his physical gifts. We know that the record he is chasing is not just a number, but a conversation with history that he started as a 21-year-old prodigy and has not finished. And we know that he said, in that quiet, deliberate way of his, that his best golf is still ahead of him. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the year the fairways of Augusta carry one more improbable Tiger charge down the back 9 on Sunday afternoon. Maybe the galleries who have watched him bleed and rebuild and return will get to witness the one ending to this story that feels, against all logic, like the right one. Or maybe not. Maybe the leg won't hold. Maybe the field is simply too strong. Maybe this is the year where the story of Tiger Woods at Augusta ends without the flourish we want for it. But that uncertainty, that breathtaking, agonizing uncertainty, is exactly why we watch. It's why you watch this. And it's why, when a 50-year-old man with reconstructed bones says 11 quiet words in a half-seen interview, the entire golf world goes silent and listens. If you're the kind of person who believes that the greatest chapters in sport are always the ones that nobody predicted, you already know where to find more stories like this one. Subscribe, not for the content, for the feeling this gave you.